All right, we are back from being off a couple of weeks for some production changes, but we're ready to go with a whole bunch of episodes that not only do we have recorded, but we've got edited, and we're going to start rolling them out for the end of 2022. I am Brian Smatros, your host of the Tossing Salad podcast, and today we've got a great episode with a new person on the show, Zach, diy.gardener. Actually, Zach and I are relatively new to following each other and interacting, so this is something that I've wanted to do after the first few episodes where I was talking to a bunch of people that I've known on Instagram for a while and start breaking into a few other people that I just haven't had a chance to really interact with. So this is a great opportunity to do that here on the podcast. Again, we've got Zach, diy.gardener. So let's go ahead and drop in right from the beginning. Well, first of all, I appreciate you coming on. We have Zach, diy.gardener. And that has to be kind of annoying for you that somebody got DIY Gardener, right?
I was so bummed.
When you searched for it, I mean, how long did it take you to come up with that name? Because that's one thing that I think a lot of us stress on when we decide to basically get to the point to where we want a specific type of account instead of just a personal account. And tell me that too, was this your personal account? You just switched it over to like a gardening or what?
Exactly. Yeah, I started off with a first name dot last name, and then just kind of switched it over once, I got obsessed with gardening and kind of took off from there. But yeah, I was searching and thinking of an idea and kind of thinking of what type of gardener I am or strive to be.
Right.
And and I came up with DIY Gardener, but there was already somebody that had it, so I had to stick that dot in there.
Yeah, I looked because I was like, oh man, I was like, now why? Because I always ask that same question with people that have a specific kind of a name and they add in either the underscore or the dot. And I'm like, oh, you got to make it easier on us, right? Because when we're like, It's DIY Gardener, but then we have to denote it's DIY.gardener. And then I looked right before we got on, and it's some guy that I don't think he even uses his account, maybe. And I mean, that's got to be a bummer.
Yeah, maybe I should reach out and just be like, hey, what's up?
Totally, you should.
I can steal your handle.
That's what I did with my business. So I'm a photographer. For my business, I've had it for the last, I don't know, since 2007. And the name of my company initially was taken by somebody out in Arizona. It was Lux Photography, Luxe Photography.
Right.
So locally, I was Lux Photo STL, which obviously doesn't sound very good just because I'm in St. Louis. And I reached out to the person that had Lux Photography because they were not using it. And we made a cash offer deal, which actually wasn't that bad. I think I actually paid less than $1,000 for it. And Now it's actually worth quite a bit more. And there's a few other companies that have kind of a Lux Photography to their name as well. So I always have that in the back to where I'm like, it's actually appreciated to where if I wanted to sell that one off, I could. But you should totally reach out to this guy.
Definitely.
Either that or look into the what's the other name that I kind of refer to you as, Daddy Wop Gardener of social media.
Gardener. Yeah, I could do that one too. It's got to be something with the music too, maybe.
First of all, what does your wife think of this whole social media thing in the garden? Because of the two things, so explain to us what your wife thinks first, and then take us back to the one reel that you made. What was that? A couple months ago, and that's the one that's really stood out for me was the WAP video that you kind of remixed and made it into like a garden video.
Yeah, that was that was my first music video, garden parody. Kind of the first one where she was like, yep, this is my husband. I think that was the Michael Jackson one. It was the first one where I did I had my face to face in the camera, and I was doing I was just dancing. I was starting seeds, so I did the Michael Jackson, got to be starting something, that one. And yeah, she I saw her facial reaction, and I knew it didn't match with what she actually felt. She was laughing inside.
Is she a social media type person at all, or no? Or are
Yeah,
you
she
the one?
is. Yeah,
So she
she is.
totally
She
understands
is.
the whole, like, if you're kind of just letting loose and you just don't care what other people kind of think,
Yeah.
or is she always giving you that eye that she's like, oh my god, Zach, what are you doing?
A little bit of both. I mean, she kind of does her thing on social media. She's big into fitness and nutrition, and all of that. So that's kind of what she's been doing on social media and follows a lot of those people. But she also gets the plant thing because she really loves house plants. So we do bond over that.
So that's something that you both actually do, or is that just kind of your own hobby, and she entertains it a little bit, and you know what I'm saying, because it's
Yeah,
one of those things. I'm married also. I've been married since '98, I think. So it's been a really long time, and my wife and I, we both have completely separate hobbies, and gardening is just my sliver of life, to where it's just my own little world that, unless I need her to actually film, which is another thing I was going to ask you, how receptive your wife is to actually helping you film some of these things.
yeah.
But would you is this your own little hobby?
Yeah, I'd say this is solely my thing. And I don't really do much with the house plants. I just kind of help her. I get the soil out and kind of help move them in and out of the house if she's putting them outside for some sun. But that's the majority of um, my input with the house plants. That's all her thing. But it kind of started off that way, and then when we moved into our house a couple of years ago, we cleared out, kind of like I think I was reading that you kind of did a similar thing. You just cleared out a little spot and thought it would be nice to have a garden, and she wanted some herbs. So
Yeah.
this was kind of her idea, and I kind of took it from there. It just became an obsession of mine. So yeah, she's helped me out in the yard a couple of times, and that was a few years ago. Ever since then, she just kind of enjoys the fruits of my labor.
Well, at what point though did you decide that you were going to take that bigger step, obviously, of getting away from a personal account to, well, now you're kind of, you're really diving in because you're niching down to an actual specific garden account? Was it out of guilt that a lot of us go through, to where we know that a lot of the people that follow us on our personal accounts are tired of seeing a tomato, zucchini, or we're growing basil or something, and they're like, dude,
Yep.
we've seen, I mean, we don't care about this stuff. And so you create a personal garden account so that there's other people that would appreciate it. What point did you decide, I need to switch this up?
Yeah, I never I never really thought of that actually, but there was probably a turning point where I was primarily on Facebook for, most of my adult life, and my Instagram pretty much just consisted of my wife tagging me in pictures of her adorable children. That was pretty much
Right.
it.
Right.
So, but then, she kind of pushed me to getting onto Instagram, and she's like, "Hey, you're posting a lot of pictures on Facebook of your garden. Why don't you get into Instagram?" That's kind of the whole thing. So she was actually my influence to get me in there, and it didn't make sense that I was doing that under my name.
Right.
I kind of wanted a creative handle because I had seen other creative handles out there that were specific to gardening. So that's kind of when I flipped the switch.
And then at what point do you go from deciding that to now you're basically remixing Cardi B's WAP and make it into a garden thing? Because that takes a lot of balls, man. That's somebody that doesn't. I mean, that's somebody that doesn't necessarily care what other people think. I mean, that's a tough thing to
Hmm.
do.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of always been a goof, and it's just kind of my nature. I'm that same way around my kids, and just making up songs. If I hear a song on the radio, I'll make little parodies about it, or if we're doing stuff around the house, I'm cooking something and we're listening to a song, I'll change up the lyrics. So that's just kind of how my brain works. And kind of after I did that Michael Jackson dancing video, that kind of shook off all the cobwebs and the nerves, and got a lot of good positive feedback from it. And so I was like, hey, I'm just gonna I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to combine my love of music and dance and gardening and come up with some music videos.
Because I think when you see something like that, and again, you and I were relatively new to kind of following each other and kind of interacting and stuff.
Yep.
And really, what caught my eye with you was when you started just putting out content like that, to where you're having fun. You don't care what really other people kind of think. You enjoy doing, like, what is it on Instagram where we do, is it the duets where you remix stuff, or what, I
Yeah.
forget what it's called,
Yeah. I
but
think it's just remixing, right?
remixing or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you get caught up in hoping that other people receive it well, or do you not even care? I mean, be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
would you get bummed out if either nobody said anything or it didn't get much traction?
Yeah. I mean, I think, especially with the music videos, I put so much time into it. You know, of course, I want people to enjoy themselves and laugh. And, I'm a comedian at heart. So that's kind of what I'm hoping people get out of it. I'm sure there are some people that are just like, what is this dude doing? This is really annoying. Swipe.
But that's
um,
fine, right? Because
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not your people.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think for the most part, the people that I interact with on a daily basis, and my family and friends, and those people that I know that follow me, I always get good positive feedback about it, and so I'm not really too worried about bumming somebody out by seeing it. I'm just going to put it out there, and because it's fun. It's fun for me to do.
And the people that kind of know you or have known you for a long time, would they say, "Oh yeah, that's Zach. He's kind of a
Yeah.
goofball or whatever," or are they like, "Whoa, where'd this side of Zach come from?"
No, I think most people would get it. Yeah, for sure. I've always been a musical guy, growing up playing in band, playing piano, singing, stuff like that. So I don't think that it's too much of a surprise to my family, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And when you say that you grew up in music and everything, is that something like you were forced as a child to piano practice and all that stuff, or did you just naturally kind of gravitate towards, like, what do you play?
yeah, no, I took piano lessons from my aunt, starting from I think 6 or 7 years old, maybe.
Did you enjoy it,
And
or was it you were forced to do it? Because I was forced.
oh
I
no,
wish I would have stuck with it, but I was forced and I just didn't like it.
yeah, no, I of course was eager to try it. My older sister was playing piano, and so of course I wanted to do it. I wanted to be cool like her, and so but I never practiced. I was terrible. I was one of those students where I enjoyed more just tinkering on the piano and messing
Right.
around on it, as opposed to sitting down, playing a song over and over until it was perfect. It was rarely ever perfect, and I'm sure my aunt was just sitting there like, "This is a waste of my time."
Right.
And I can remember more than a few occasions where she was like, "All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and do this one next week too, just to make sure to get it to that point." um,
And are
but
you
yeah, when
reading music also, or are you this more by ear?
I've got a pretty good ear. I don't know if it's more natural or if it's just more because been playing piano for a while. I've been in band, that kind of thing. So I don't know if it's just years of exposure or if it came naturally. I don't really know, but I've got a pretty good ear for music, and I am one of those people that rarely listens to lyrics and gets more hooked on the chorus and like the actually music and the beats.
So, like,
'Cause I'm a
breaking it down, like the
drummer
technical
too.
side of the music and listening to that. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, would you consider yourself more of an extroverted type person, introvert? I'm guessing extrovert. Most people, just from interacting with me on social media, would guess that I'm an extrovert, which I'm absolutely not. I'm the
Yeah.
exact opposite. I hate people. I don't like interacting with people in real life. But I have a
Yep.
switch that I can turn it on, and I do it quite well. But I'm exhausted afterwards. I can do it for my business. I can do it when I have to, but it's not something that I'm comfortable with. What are you, introverted, extroverted, or what?
Yeah. No, I am just like you. I
Really?
cannot. Yeah, I can't go into a public space and not feel uncomfortable. we actually just had a bunch of people in from out of town, all of our remote employees, and I was sweating bullets the whole time. It's just uncomfortable.
And then
Um,
afterward, I mean, just miserable. And then when you're finally done, are you just exhausted?
yeah, we were in the office for 3 days after not being in the office, more than a couple times in a year.
Right.
It was exhausting. I think I passed out on the couch pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, that's the same with me. So how are you able to do what you do then on social media? Because that's another question people have for me is, well, if you're this introverted person, why are you on social media? Why are you in front of the camera? I'm in front of the camera a lot. I hate it, but I've always told people, for me, gardening isn't simply growing the tomato, growing the green beans, growing asparagus or anything like that. It's fun. It's neat to be able to grow something from your own hands, from the seed to, bring it into the kitchen and cooking it. But for
Yep.
me, most of the stuff from gardening is me working on things on myself internally, and that is part of it. Being social, being able to be in front of a camera, being able to interact with other people. And it's something that I really struggle with. Like this here, like tonight, every single podcast, I'm a nervous wreck going into it. Absolute nervous wreck going into every podcast. In the
Yep.
back of my head, I'm always kind of thinking like, well, maybe if they'll cancel, I'll feel better about it. You know what I'm saying? But I have to keep pushing myself because these are all personal things that I have to address head on. How do you do it?
Yeah, no, I legit was hoping you would cancel or something would come up.
Really?
Yeah, we have I don't know how it is in St. Louis, but right now we've got 50-degree or 50-mile-per-hour winds just hailing
Yeah,
outside.
it's
It's
it's bad outside
miserable
right now.
in
Yeah.
Chicago. So I was kind of hoping, power lines could go down or something, and then I won't have to do this for at least another week or so.
And then we keep putting
But
it off, and then for me, like the anxiety of it, and I hate that feeling because the thing is, once I get, and this is also like with my job when I go on photo shoots and stuff, I'm a nervous wreck right before, but once I get there and I start shooting and I start taking command of the scene or whoever I'm shooting with, everything
yep,
is fine. Like right now, I feel pretty comfortable sitting here kind of talking with you, and then when we end this, I'm going to be like, God, that was so much fun. I'm glad we did it. And I'm gonna be like,
yep,
you know what? I need to do this again. I'm gonna try to book somebody for tomorrow, and then the same cycle will be, I'll book somebody, and then my anxiety will kick in, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if this is one of those things where you have to do it 10,000 hours for you to feel comfortable, but yeah, I just don't. I've never enjoyed public speaking of any kind. So I think to answer your question earlier, that's really one of the reasons why I enjoy being on social media and doing the whole reels on Instagram thing, because I don't have to do it in front of somebody.
Right,
Really, the only fear that I have is that my neighbor is going to come outside when I'm doing it, or somebody's going to see me from the street and they're going to be like,
right.
"What is this dude in the gardening hat pulling kids full of in his wagon doing?" That's the only thing I have to worry about.
Well, and you're out there lip syncing or whatever, and your
Yeah,
neighbors are gonna be like, what is this guy doing? But that's something that's interesting to know about you also then, because it seems like there's a few things that you and I are kind of working on. And I think that with social media, it's on my terms, so I'm able to
yeah,
do it a little bit more than if I had to go be in front of other people or whatever. At least with the social media, I'm by myself. It's on my terms. I can control what goes out there. I can control what I do, and then in the end, I've always got the ejection button to where I can be like, well, I'm just going to delete it. I'm not going to post it. But I
yeah,
will say, doing this account, the Garden Voyeur, since 2014, that I have really faced a lot of personal things that I think I've gotten better at.
sure.
That's why I continue to want to push the boundaries on keeping this account, the Garden Voyeur, going, even though I've gotten to the point to where I feel like I, I, I've been doing the same thing, posting the same photos, videos for so long that I'm bored with the whole Instagram stuff. And this is why I'm really excited about the podcast, because I enjoy finding people that I want to sit down and talk to somebody one on one. I'm terrible at a party, but I will find that one person
Yeah.
and I will pick them out, and I can bug them the entire night and talk to them and have 1,000 questions. But I have to find a way to keep this going because it's free. Well, I don't know if it's free because it's actually quite expensive. Therapy for me. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I think I've listened to all the other episodes that have been posted so far, and it is something that I never would have thought I enjoyed. When you first were kind of mentioning what you were thinking of doing, and I was like, all right, this could be okay, but I love gardening so much, I just want to hear about gardening.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, it's been really nice to see. I've gotten some new insights. I've learned some new words. Diasper. I don't know
Yeah,
where
I
he
told
got
you
that
no big
one.
words tonight. Don't you dare drop any big words like Andre did on me.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. And I looked up a definition. I couldn't even find it. It's just I don't even know.
I read the
But
definition. I still don't think I understand. I understood what he was saying, but I still don't understand the definition of that word.
yeah, yeah, no, I don't get it. But yeah, I've really enjoyed listening to it so far. So I appreciate you having me on. It means a lot to me. So I mean, I think you have a way of talking to people in just a really relaxed way, and it's nice to listen to. I've listened to you while I'm cooking dinner, while I'm out gardening, while I'm in the car.
I
It's
appreciate
just
that.
nice to hear other gardeners and get insights that we wouldn't necessarily see in their posts because they might post that to Facebook instead of Instagram.
Yeah, and whether or not we're all on Facebook anyways to see that kind of stuff, and that's what I struggled with
Right.
initially when I wanted to set this up. I mean, there's no doubt that when you start to get to know some of the people within our garden community, whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, I don't know where your little sphere of people reside, but obviously
Yep.
there's a few. The Venn diagram, ours is kind of interconnected here on Instagram. There are so many fascinating, really interesting people that we come across, and gardening is what brings us together.
Yep.
Gardening is what, we've all made the excuse that we're going to make an account just for that. And then you start finding out over a period of time when you're interacting with people as they post the picture of their tomato or they do a remix of the WAP song or whatever, that there's some other things that you kind of recognize, whether it's overtly or not, that you're like, there's something about this person that I like, and for me, it's usually the sense of humor. Somebody that's just out here to have some fun. And that's what I kind of pick up with you. And that's what I want to do with the podcast is basically get with the people behind the accounts within gardening and talk about a few things just outside of gardening.
Yeah, I can get down with that. It's because I mean, it is something that you spend so much time gardening, thinking about gardening, but you don't really think about, okay, hey, these people that I'm, following on Instagram and speaking with, they actually have lives outside of gardening. Like
Yeah.
they're real people. So what's up with them? What do they do for their jobs? Where else do they enjoy going? So yeah, it's nice to hear about all that.
Yeah, I think it's a little nicer to be able to kind of peel back a little bit on people that after a while you're like, you know what, I kind of vibe with this person. And I'm just kind of curious what other things make them tick. What are the other interesting things in their lives? That's been the hardest thing for me in trying to describe the podcast to everybody else. When everybody they would say, "Well, I mean, is it a garden podcast?" Because my built-in audience is obviously within gardening, and I'm like, "Oh, it's a garden podcast, but it's not about gardening." And they're like, "Okay, that completely makes sense." Which everybody's like, "Okay, whatever." But I think so far, if you've given it a chance and listened to the episodes and listened to the other people, the content isn't so much important as it is the actual people that we're talking to. And I think that those people come across so well and likable that if you haven't followed them or you don't know anything about them, you're going to go out and say, I want to go follow Zach. You know, he seems like a fun guy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there were a couple people that were on. Andre was the first one, and I was like, why am I not following him? He's hilarious and energetic, and these are the kind of people that I like to follow.
Right.
And uh, Teresa, right?
Right. Teresa, there's a girl in the gardens. Her
Teresa,
name is actually Rachel, but her
yeah,
handle is there's a girl
Teresa.
in the gardens. And I had made
Yep,
the mistake of referring to her as I thought her name was Teresa, and we had a good laugh about that in the show. But yeah, I get that.
that's funny. Yeah, so I mean, those are the kind of people that I like to follow too. I like the humor. Um, Amanda, Brianna, they do a lot of funny stuff. You guys are always remixing each other's, and that's the kind of content I enjoy.
You talk about Brianna and Amanda, Andre also, but really all of them that I really interact with here on the podcast, a lot of them, one of the recurring, well, a couple things. One, they all have a really good sense of humor. But two, I think, and especially with like Amanda and Brianna, if you follow them, they put out so much effort into interacting with the community around them. They are always remixing or they're always kind of promoting other gardeners. And I love that. I'm in a period where I'm Mr. Cranky, to be honest with you, lately for the last year and a half, 2 years. And I
You
just
know.
did an episode with Amanda and Brianna together, just going over my struggle with. I love this community. I love interacting with everybody, but I really am starting to hate the Instagram experience. And it's again, I've been doing it for 8 or 9 years. Just out of curiosity, how is your view of your Instagram experience? I mean, is that your main platform that you use, Instagram? Are you liking things? Uh oh.
Yeah,
That was a big sigh, man. That was a
that
big
was a big
sigh.
sigh.
Let it out.
Yeah,
Let it out.
yeah. Honestly, it has been so glitchy for me, and I don't know if it's because I'm trying to do too much with those music videos, but it takes me a while to figure out how to sync up the music. Because
Hmm.
when I'm posting these videos, I have the vocals recorded, and I put that over my video,
Right.
and then I sync it with the music that's available already in Instagram.
Right.
Like I find an instrumental version of the song that I'm
Right.
remixing. So to get it to sync, sometimes it doesn't work perfectly, and then I got to get creative and find a loophole. I even tried to reach out to Instagram. I still haven't heard anything yet
Yeah. Good luck getting
back from
getting them to
them.
reply.
Yeah, I did the whole like you have to shake your phone thing at the point that you get frustrated.
Yeah. Throw it against the
I
wall. But
was
yeah, the
yeah, I
shake
was doing a
feature.
lot of that. I was doing a lot of that. But overall, my experience has been good. Posting the pictures and being able to view other people has been fine, but the reels can be really glitchy.
So are you editing within Instagram? Is that what you're saying?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't mastered that. Like I got fat fingers or something. I can't do the whole zooming and um,
But when you edit your
shortening
videos
editing
for
stuff.
Reels, are you doing that in Instagram or using a third party?
Yeah, I'm using a third party,
Okay.
which is
Okay.
possibly part of the reason. I don't know if they're shadow banning using other editing
No, but
stuff,
that's what I
but
was going to recommend for you or for anybody else. Like, unless you're doing really basic videos, you should do all of your editing and stuff in a third party app program and not do it within Instagram because you're putting all your eggs into one basket. And Instagram, like you said, is really glitchy. You can lose a lot of the work that you're doing.
right,
It's just easier to do it on a third party software. So,
yeah, yeah. The other thing that gets me too is when if I'm making a draft of a reel and I put
mhm.
in the caption and I spend all this time putting in a caption, putting all my handles, and then if you go back into that draft the day after, like when you're ready to post it, and you're like, oh, I want to add one more thing or put one more caption in or something. If you hit edit accidentally instead of save,
Yeah.
it takes you back to the video, but then you lose your caption. So
Oh.
I've had to remember, okay, I got to copy and paste this to my clipboard on my phone before I do, when I save the draft. It's gotten me a couple times.
Yeah, and especially when you put so much effort and work and time into it, and then you get into that part to where it totally you're just like, ah, screw it, I'm
Yep.
done for the day,
Yeah.
and then you just leave it.
That's that's what I did with the Lizzo parody, the most recent one. I couldn't get the music to work, so I just posted it with the vocals, and I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna do it, and it's gonna be a cappella, which some people thought was hilarious, but I was frustrated.
Yeah, there's so many people that are in the same boat. They'll complain about the technical part of Instagram just being so glitchy, and I encounter that also. It does sound like, other than that, you're still kind of enjoying the experience of the interactions and posting on Instagram and seeing everybody's stuff or whatever.
Yep.
No issues with any kind of trolls or anything like that, or people coming after you for anything.
No, I haven't. I've had a couple sketchy people reach out, in messages, and I'm like, just with the hi, and then I'll respond back with, hello, are you into gardening? And then they'll give me their sales pitch and I'll block them. But
Yeah.
yeah, other than that, I don't think my account has gotten to that point yet. I'm not legit yet because I haven't had a troll. But yeah,
And
we'll see.
what's your plan for the account? Like, are you hoping to get to a point to where, is this just for fun, or are you wanting to try to get to a point to where you're able to monetize it all, or?
I mean, basically, no, I don't think so. I mean, from the feedback that I've heard, and you did a lot of lives about making how to make money on it and with the reels bonus and all that. It didn't seem like it was really worth the effort. Like you couldn't make a living off of it per se. It sounded like on TikTok you could possibly, or no, it was even less on TikTok. You were saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, generally it's a little less on TikTok, but it's comparing apples to oranges uh, when you're dealing with the like Reels bonus versus what TikTok gives you.
Mm,
The main difference is the Reels bonus is just for that 30 days, and then after the 30 days, if your Reels end up getting views, you don't get compensated for it. It's just gone. You just get compensated for the 30 days. My understanding on
hmm,
TikTok, it's to perpetuity. You keep accumulating money, even though it's less than Instagram. But for
sure.
as long as your video is getting views, you're getting a couple pennies here and there. But still, even for me, I mean, the money that I make just off of the views for TikTok and Instagram, I mean, it's a little bit of money. It's like paying for the ring light that I have here shining down on me.
Yeah,
So we got a
exactly.
new ring light to use. So I just reinvest that money into doing more things within Instagram and TikTok. But I find that when you get caught up in the monetization of the account, and you start mixing that with what was a hobby and was for fun, it's a slippery, dangerous slope, because when things aren't working right, the one thing that you were holding on to, which is gardening, that was supposed to bring pleasure to you and that you're working on things internally with, is
Yep.
now really tied into views or how much money that you're making.
Yeah. No, that's definitely one of my biggest fears. And I had this whole grandiose idea of starting a YouTube channel. So I actually have a DIY gardener YouTube channel with no gardening content on it yet. I just kind of put that out there. I've got
But you have to
IKEA.
start
I've got
somewhere, and
IKEA
you have to
crumbs.
reserve the name, so that's great.
Yeah. So I got the head start on that, but yeah, that was my biggest fear was that okay, I go and I buy the fancy camera, I go and I buy the fancy tripod, I somehow convince my wife to now become a professional videographer,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then that puts our relationship into a bad place. Uh, I'm sorry, babe, I got to do this again. I get the eye roll. I'm in big trouble. All these fears were going through my head, and I was worried that I would lose the passion and I would just get frustrated, and I would be up late at night doing, editing my videos. Um, and so, yeah, so I kind of put that to rest for now,
Right.
at least.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that was my big thing was I got started watching YouTube videos on about gardening, and
Same.
so that was something that I really thought like, hey, I could make this happen. I could put some content out there. I think that would be a better platform to put music videos on because I
Hmm.
wouldn't have to cut it to 90 seconds. I could do the whole
Right.
song.
Hmm.
But yeah, it sounded like a lot of work. And although I think you could monetize it on YouTube as well, I think it's just as hard, if not harder, to get a following on there.
Yeah, it's a completely different beast, but if you're able to kind of leverage all of your accounts together, and get everybody that interacts or follows you here and there to make sure that they know that you're on YouTube or that you're on TikTok or Facebook or whatever it is that you're trying to build a community on.
Yep.
I have over the last year and a half or so, a lot of people think that I'm a trying to get everybody into going to TikTok instead of Instagram, and that's not necessarily what I my purpose of talking about TikTok. My whole purpose of that is not to be so self-reliant and stuck with just one platform for interacting with people and a community that you really like. That you should at least have, if you're going to do one and you really love gardening or whatever it is that you have at least one other platform to where you can access those people just in case something were to happen. Like even with TikTok now, it could happen within days or a week that the government comes and shuts down TikTok for whatever reason, and then all of a sudden, if you were just solely in TikTok, what are you going to do? But the same with
Yeah.
Instagram; it could happen there too. So that was my big push over the last couple of years. Is just to get out there and let people know, hey, don't be just so dependent on one platform. At least if you're going to do one, do two, whatever two that you want to do.
Yeah. Isn't that a lot of work though? Because I've seen people post stuff to Instagram that has the little TikTok thing in it, um, but I just think it just sounds like so much work to me. So that's really why I haven't done that yet. I did take your advice and I put the diy.gardener
Perfect. Yeah.
on there just to hold it, but
Yeah. Because
yeah, it
somebody
sounds like a
else
lot of work.
somebody else would grab it,
Yeah,
and then what are you going to do? But I
that's
guess you're going to
true.
have to go over there and get the other one too, just in case this other guy gives you DIY gardener without the dot.
Oh,
So you should go check TikTok
I
and
haven't
make
checked that
sure
yet.
maybe you grab both of them. But it is, your workflow, you're going to have to kind of massage the workflow. And it can be just as easy as you're already doing your content in a third party app. You export that out without a watermark, and then you post the exact same thing if you want on Instagram and TikTok. I think the platforms are different enough to where you kind of know what content plays well here, what content plays well there. But just to
Right.
make it easy on you when you get started, export the same video out and just post it to both. And even if you can't actively monitor your TikTok account, because it does take a lot of effort, and there's only so much time that we have to devote to our accounts a day. And if Instagram is your main platform, you're going to be spending most of your time there, but you might as well throw some stuff on TikTok. You're already making the content and it's vertical video anyways. Throw it
Right.
on there. And then after a while, if you start getting a foothold, and then let's say you start working on long form video content on YouTube. I mean, the information's out there to help you become efficient in doing it. I'm not saying I know, because I don't. I struggle with it's a pain to keep up with the different platforms or whatever, but I know that it's important to me to have at least two that I am trying to cultivate and grow. And right now it's Instagram and TikTok, although I did just, for the podcast, I did reserve the name for YouTube.
Oh, nice.
So
That was smart.
Yeah, because I think the video part of the podcast that I'm doing, podcasts for most part, everybody's going to listen to this and it's an audio format. But the marketing of all of this, all the video clips, that's the video part that we have to put some effort into. So
Right.
that's why I'm putting forth doing a little research on video podcasts. So I want to make sure the audio part is taken care of, but to market it, to let people know that you're out there, you got to do video. So that's why I'm doing this. And I think Instagram, doing the Instagram 90-second clips or whatever, TikTok doing the same thing. And then hopefully I can do some longer form of the podcast for YouTube. Now that you have all the headphones and the mic, maybe you're going to get into the podcasting.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I got it mostly because, I was just recording the songs and stuff on my phone's microphone. So
Right.
that was the best quality I could have. But I think this is going to be a lot better. I've got the whole thing that goes here so that I don't spit on it and all that
Right.
good stuff. So,
Do you listen to many other podcasts at all? Are you a podcast person?
oh yeah. Yeah, I have probably about 4 or 5 currently in the rotation that I listen to on a weekly basis. So yeah, they're pretty much all about gardening.
Are they?
There's there's one about compost that I listen to over and over because there's just like 9 episodes. I
Right.
think they canceled, but yeah, they're pretty much all about gardening.
When do you usually listen to your podcast?
If I'm out in the garden, if I am in the car, I can't do it when I'm working because then I can't, I'll be focused on my work and then
Right.
I'm trying to listen, but it doesn't work. I always have to go back and rewind it. So yeah, I've tried that. It doesn't work, but yeah, so mostly just in the garden, in the car, and when I'm cooking dinner.
And most of them you said are gardening podcasts. So
Yep,
you're like all in. You've all the chips
I'm
are
all
in
in.
for gardening.
I have one other one it's just dad jokes.
Really?
My dad got me into that one. It's hilarious. It's every day, just 5 minutes of dad jokes, and that's it. It's hilarious.
But it puts you in a good mood, right? I mean, that's the whole
It does.
point of doing a lot of this stuff is to try to get us into a zone to where we feel a little bit better. It makes our day go by a little bit nicer, or puts a smile on our face, and that's what I think a lot of the gardening does for most of us here. All right, well, I think, I mean, this was a great episode. I really appreciate you coming on and kind of getting to know you a little bit, and I think everybody else, they see the posts that you have, and they see the fun music remix videos and everything, and I think getting to know Zach a little bit deeper is going to be one of those things where they're just like, you're just a nice guy. Plus, for us as the male form here, there's
Yep.
I don't think there's a lot of us guys in gardening, is there?
I don't think so. Yeah, I've looked at my insights before on Instagram, and you know, it's like 90-10 on some of my posts. A lot, sometimes it goes up to like 80 or down to 80-20.
Right.
But yeah, there's not a lot of us out there.
Very few guys that I've kind of come across that either have the same kind of sense of humor or just kind of having fun or whatever. But the ones that I've found, fantastic. So I'm glad that I get a little of the extra guy, the bromance stuff going tonight
Bromance.
and add
The
it to
apple
the
butter
Andre. I think it's just
bromance.
you and Andre so far on the podcast for the guys.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's right. Well, I feel special,
Well, I
but not
appreciate
so,
you
not
coming.
so much. So there's just no guys out there.
It's hard, but it doesn't matter at this point, and we're at a stage in our lives to where we're just looking for other people, good spirited people that are out there that enjoy gardening, that have a good sense of humor, like to have fun, put a smile on our faces every day. So Zach, I appreciate it. Zach, you are diy.gardener on Instagram. You're on TikTok, but you don't have anything on there. But people can find you on TikTok though, right? Or no?
They should be able to. Yeah, I've got
Okay.
the handle, but I haven't posted anything.
And then YouTube, they can find you there too.
Yes, but all they'll find is
That's
three
okay.
IKEA pun videos. That's it.
That's okay. As long as you're there, and we want to make sure that we find you and follow you. So, Zach, I appreciate your time tonight. Hopefully you and the fam can enjoy the rest of your weekend. I know tonight we're going to pop open a bottle of wine, and I think we're going to watch either Love is Blind on Netflix or find a movie to watch. So I know my wife's waiting for me. I don't know. What did you do with the family on a Saturday night here? Where's yours?
I locked them in the basement. Yeah, no, they're downstairs. My wife is, putting all these things together, and we're cleaning out the crawl space, just kind of doing an early winter cleaning. So she's busy with that, and I'm sure the kids are watching something on Netflix and tinkering with the Barbie Playhouse and all that good stuff.
Sure. Well, if you stayed on the podcast a little longer, the wife would get all that stuff done by the time you got out there. You'd be like, "Oh, hon, I was coming to help, but looks like you got it all taken care of."
I'm ready for episode 2 if you're down.
All right, Zach, appreciate it. And we're at the end of the podcast here. So what I'm going to do, thank you guys for listening to another great episode of the Tossing Salad podcast. I'll tell you what, if you guys like that interview there, we've got a whole bunch of other ones to where we've sat down with people from behind their social media gardening accounts, just kind of getting to know them. Go back, take a listen to a few of those. There may be some people that you guys know and follow, and then there may be some that you guys have no idea who they are. I guarantee you guys are going to like them. If you get the opportunity, toss us a review on one of your podcast platforms, whichever ones you guys listen to. The Tossing Salad podcast is now on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We're working on getting our content up on YouTube and TikTok. But if you can give us a follow there, that'll help out the show. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.